that sound, that intro means one beautiful, glorious thing. Football is back. Welcome back to the J&J's Double Play podcast, where this week we will be discussing our picks for the division winners and the wild card winners for each division in the NFL. Welcome back. I've missed you guys.
Yes, it's been a while. We took a couple of weeks off. I'm sorry, guys. Our schedules never match up, and we finally found time to do this. But before we get started, I want to announce how excited we are that we're both going to be doing our own solo videos about topics that we're very passionate about. Mine is going to be about why it's a golden age to be a wrestling fan or a sports entertainment fan, if you want to call it that.
And my video is a passion project of mine about why the National Hockey League should bring a team to Houston, Texas. So stay tuned for more updates on those videos. So kick back, relax, and enjoy the podcast. So let's go ahead and get into our picks. So Andy and I have picked the winners of each of the four divisions in each of the conferences and our two wildcard picks. So we're going to go ahead and start with the AFC. For the AFC East, of course I'm going to go with the Patriots. I'm not crazy. If you actually think Tom Brady and Bill Belichick are going to lose to Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills, or Ryan Tannehill and the Dolphins, or Sam Darnold, the red-headed reincarnation of Mark Sanchez, you are out of your mind. Patriots will go about 12-4 and be the number one seed.
Well, I must be crazy then, because my pick for that is the Buffalo Bills. I think they're on a resurgence because they just made the playoffs for the first time last year, and so they're hungry. And the Pats are on a downfall. Ownership is bad. Coaching, they're not on the same page. Tom Brady lost his voodoo magic priest. So, Buffalo, let's go.
Well, I guess there are crazy people in this world. But we're going to revisit these predictions for the AFC East later in the show to have a little explanation for the fans. So moving over to the AFC North, both Andy and I are in agreement that the Steelers are going to win the division and possibly be the number 2 seed. I just see Ben Roethlisberger, Antonio Brown, and Le'Veon Bell doing their thing with a solid defense and a solid kicker in Chris Boswell. I really don't see any reason why the Steelers won't make the playoffs. It's only a matter of what they're going to do once they get into the playoffs.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. The Ravens are not going to bench Joe Flacco for Lamar Jackson, so that pretty much takes them out. The Bengals are just walking mediocrity. And isn't there a 14? I kind of forgot about them.
You forgot about the Factory of Sadness!
To be fair, so did the NFL.
Let's move on to the AFC South. Now, Andy and I are in disagreement on this one. I'm picking arguably the best defense in the NFL with undoubtedly the best cornerback and the greatest trash talker in the NFL right now in Jalen Ramsey and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, I know there are questions about Blake Bortles as quarterback because he's not even the best quarterback in his own division, and he's probably in the bottom third of quarterbacks in the entire NFL. I think their defense is good enough that they can keep in close games, and all Blake Bortles has to do is not suck, and the Jaguars could go like 11-5 or 10-6 or win the division.
You see, you have way too much faith in the Jaguars. I don't even have them making the playoffs. I have the Texans winning the division. I think the whole reason they had such a huge downslide last year is because everyone got hurt. Watt got hurt, then Watson got hurt, Whitney Merciless got hurt. So I think once the Texans get everyone back and healthy, they should run away with this division easily. This is by far the easiest division to win.
Oh, absolutely. I wouldn't even be shocked if the Tennessee Titans won the division, who, came into the season last year with little to no expectations, made the playoffs, and even went on to beat the Kansas City Chiefs in a playoff game. Marcus Mariota could easily be one of the next best quarterbacks in this young crop of quarterbacks in the NFL. So I wouldn't be shocked if the Jaguars won. I wouldn't be shocked if the Texans or the Titans won. Colts, maybe, depending on Andrew Luck's health and their offensive line, could be a threat in the division. This thing is very wide open.
You brought up an interesting point with the Titans, which is why I have them as one of my wild cards. And I guess I'm not as crazy and thinking that the Pats won't make the playoffs at all. So I have them also as one of my wild cards.
Yeah, for my two wild cards, I have the Texans winning the first wild card and the Kansas City Chiefs winning the second one. Now, these are my two, bold picks because the Texans, as you stated earlier, are coming off major injuries, and we still don't know what the ceiling or floor of Deshaun Watson is. His ceiling could be that of one of Tom Brady, Michael Vick, but his floor could also be of Robert Griffin III. I'm not sure how he's going to perform coming off an injury, but I'm willing to take the upside on that and have the Texans being the 5th seed. And for the 6th seed, the Chiefs are still a good team. You still have arguably the second best tight end in the league in Travis Kelce, solid receivers and a solid run game, and now you have a new young quarterback in Patrick Mahomes out of Texas Tech. I still think Andy Reid is a good coach, even though he does not have a lot of playoff success, so I could see the Kansas City Chiefs kind of sneaking in there at maybe a 9-7, 10-6, and potentially doing some damage in the playoffs. We forgot about the AFC West, but yeah, we have the Broncos winning the West.
And as a great tree once said, forget you, Spanos. You ruined San Diego. All you left them was the Padres. What did San Diego ever do to you?
And that'll do it for our AFC predictions. Now moving on to my favorite conference, the NFC, home of my favorite team.
The Philadelphia Eagles?
Close enough. No. But for our NFC picks, we're going to go ahead and start in the NFC East. It pains me to say this, but I have the Giants winning the NFC East. Do I have to actually go into detail about this? Whatever. No, I'll take this seriously. Eli Manning is going to do his thing. He's going to start all of his games now that one guy with the slick back hair is out. I think the Giants are going to win the East for a few reasons. One, I think they finally have a run game when they drafted Saquon Barkley, and now they locked in Odell Beckham Jr. I can see them going maybe 10-6 and winning the NFC East.
How did that feel? How did it feel to pick the Giants? Bet it felt good, didn't it? To finally relieve yourself of that 20 pounds of doo-doo that you've been carrying around for the last 20 years. But I'm going to have to disagree with your pick. I'm going to go with the Super Bowl champions, the Philadelphia Eagles, who they won their Super Bowl without Carson Wentz. So I think now that Carson Wentz is healthy, they'll easily run away with this division.
The only reason I didn't pick the Eagles to win is because I'm not sure how Carson Wentz is going to come off an injury. Yes, they won a Super Bowl, but I think this is going to be like the Chicago Cubs. Just they won their first one ever, and then they're going to have a big hangover afterwards. Let's move on to the NFC North. I see the Packers winning this division simply because they are a better team than the Vikings, in my opinion, especially with the healthy Aaron Rodgers this year. I see the Packers winning this division pretty easily, although the Vikings will keep it close.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Vikings. I think Kirk Cousins is an average quarterback, but I think their defense will carry that team. I don't know the health of Aaron Rodgers right now, and I think with losing Jordy Nelson, his number one receiver, will hurt him. It's going to be close. It's going to be a close division, but I think the Vikings win by 1 or 2 games.
Up next, we're going to do the NFC South, and this division is pretty much as wide open as the AFC South, with 3 teams that could easily take this division. I'm going to go with the Atlanta Falcons on this one. I think Matt Ryan has finally gotten over that slightly above average mediocre quarterback to a second tier. He's not top 5, like a Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Ben Roethlisberger, Russell Wilson, Drew Brees level, but I think he's easily one of the top quarterbacks in that second tier, and I think the Atlanta Falcons could easily go 13-3, 12-4 if they're hitting on all cylinders, and they still have the best receiver in the league in Julio Jones. They have an okay defense, but I think that's all they really need to do because everything's going to be hinging upon their potent offense. So I got the Falcons winning the NFC South.
I'm going to go with the Panthers. I think Cam Newton's getting over that Super Bowl loss hump, and he's going to go back to not elite, but at least close to where he was that MVP season. I just think with the NFC South is just wide open too. It's about as highly contested as it can get with, as you said, 3 teams and arguably one of the best quarterbacks in that division in Drew Brees. But I think the Carolina Panthers will take this division. So let's go on to the NFC West. You picked the Rams, which is interesting. They did make the playoffs last year. But do you really think Jared Goff can lead this team back to the playoffs again?
It's not Jared Goff, I believe, is hinging upon their success. I think it's Wade Phillips in that defense. They just signed Ndamukong Suh. They just signed Hakeem Talib. And on their offensive end, they got Brandon Cooks to be their deep route runner, who was amazing with the Patriots last year. Jared Goff is kind of in that area of Blake Bortles. I think Jared Goff is better than Blake Bortles, but Jared Goff just has to be okay for the Rams to be successful. And the Rams just have to be slightly better than okay for fans to actually show up to their games. But at least they're not drawing fans like that other team in LA, Chargers. Yeah, I'm sorry, that's 2 Chargers jokes in one podcast. What's your pick for the NFC West?
First of all, the Chargers are the joke of the NFL, so that's not going to be just one joke. Second of all, I'm going to go with the 49ers. I think Jimmy Garoppolo lit a spark under that team once he took over as quarterback last year. He went 5-0. I think the 49ers are the team to beat in the division.
All right, and finally we have our NFC wildcard predictions. For my first wildcard, I have to pick my boys. Now, yes, I am scared that Travis Frederick, Tyrone Smith, and Zach Martin are all hurt. Travis Frederick just started practicing recently, so that's a good sign, and Tyrone Smith hasn't really missed extended time in the preseason. Losing one of those 3 offensive walls is going to hurt this team, and hopefully Zach Martin can come back soon. I hope Travis Frederick, for one, I hope he's okay, because he's dealing with a nerve issue. That's never a good sign. I see the Cowboys relying heavily on their run defense and their run game with Ezekiel Elliott. I think they can manage a 9-7 season like they did last year, potentially 10-6, and kind of sneak into that first or second wild card spot. I believe in my boys. My second wild card pick, I'm going with the Carolina Panthers. As Andy alluded to earlier, Cam Newton is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFC, and I think they just have a very solid team. They made the playoffs and were pretty close to beating the Saints last year in the playoffs. So I'm going to go ahead and go with them as my second wild card pick.
So let me say something who's not dreaming. Cowboys are going to go 4-12. Anyway, I'm going to pick the Giants to be one of my first wild card. I think, as Jack said, Eli Manning is going to do Eli Manning things. I just think the NFC is too stacked for him to win the division. Sneak into the playoffs as a wild card. The second pick I'm going to pick is the Seahawks. I think Russell Wilson is one of those top 5 quarterbacks. I just think the division has gotten better, but I still think they can compete. And losing Richard Sherman is going to hurt them, but I do believe that their defense is still one of the best in the NFL.
So as alluded to earlier in the show, Andy and I have a bet on the Patriots and Bills. He is so confident in his pick that the Buffalo Bills are going to win the AFC East. We have a Buffalo Wild Wings bet. So if the Patriots win the East, I get free Buffalo Wild Wings. And if the Bills win the AFC East, I will buy him Buffalo Wild Wings. I think this is a crazy pick. I think I'm getting free Buffalo Wild Wings out of this. What do you guys think? Do you think the Bills actually have a chance to win the division? Go ahead and leave a comment down below and any other crazy NFL predictions that you have. And that will do it for our show today. Thank you again for listening. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And as always, thank you for listening and have a great day.